Nancy Drew, Secrets Can Chill. Chapter 21, Code Names Are Cool. I'm close to finishing this case, Nancy announced to Detective Beech. I found one of Jake's video containing blackmail material for all the students. Good to know, Beech said. Was there anything in the video about cold coffee, Daryl? No, Nancy said. But you saw the way Daryl ran out of here when I mentioned Jake to him. Jake was probably blackmailing him, too. Find out how Jake was blackmailing Daryl, Detective Beech said, and find Jake's notebook. That's the only missing piece of evidence. By the way, remember how Mitch Dillon threatened me? Nancy asked. Now he's trying to kill me. He led me into... Secrets can kill, Nancy. That's very worrisome. Now he's trying to kill me. He led me into the boiler room when it was about to explode. Okay, we'll take Dillon into custody, Detective Beech reassured Nancy. But we can't hold him there without any hard evidence, like Jake's notebook. Why is this notebook so important? Nancy asked. For all we know, Jake used it to keep track of fantasy football scores or something. He didn't play fantasy football. He played Dungeons and Dragons, Detective Beech said. They're pretty much the exact same thing, though. In any case, we won't know if the notebook is relevant or not until you find it. So get going. Yes, sir, Detective Steve, Nancy said, saluting. That's Detective Beech, Beech said. I mean, Uncle Steve. We're still working undercover. The diner is empty besides for us, Nancy said. Do we really have to use code names? Yes, Beech said. Code names are cool. Then why don't I get a code name? Nancy asked. Everyone's been calling me by my real name. Only policemen get to have cool code names, Detective Beech said. If you find the notebook, though, I'll see if I can get a code name for you. Nancy got up and left the diner, muttering to herself about weird uncles who were obsessed with notebooks. On her way to Paseo del Mar High School, or as the kids now called it, Paseo del Murder, she got a text message from Aunt Eloise. Nancy, the next puzzle you have to solve is kind of hard to figure out. You need to use all the weird clues Jake left in the school. Nancy texted back. You mean the clues like HGL3? Exactly, Eloise texted back. Also, type in Jake's locker combo on the library search engine. How do you know all this? Nancy texted. There's a copy of the game strategy guide in the school library, Aunt Eloise texted. I read it one day when I was bored. Anyway, keep safe and don't accidentally set off my home security system. Chapter 22, Jake's Tape. Nancy went to the school library and searched for 5253 on the computer system. There's only one result, a book entitled Under My Chair by Jake Rogers. Nancy went up the stairs and went to Jake's personal study area below the periodic table of the elements. Seeing the chart caused Nancy to suddenly realize that Jake's random clues weren't random after all. The things he wrote, like K, H, G, and H, were all elements. She reached under Jake's chair and found a metallic box with many buttons. Nancy soon deduced that she would have to push the buttons in the proper order to get the box open. But what was the proper order? I must have to put all the clues together, Nancy said. I'll put all the elements in order and match the instructions that came with them, starting with the symbol written on the matchbook for magazines and... Nancy stopped shortly. That was way too complicated. Instead, she turned around and threw the box down to the first story of the library, where it hit the ground and smashed open. All right, Nancy said. She went downstairs and picked up the box. Inside was another VHS tape. Nancy took the tape with her back to Aunt Eloise's. She looked around the room for a bit and wondered why her aunt had a VHS player but no VHSs. Shrugging, Nancy put the cassette in the player and watched it on the TV. Hey, sports fans, a male voice, obviously Jake's, said. Guess what our student body president has been up to lately? He's been stealing blueprints and files from his daddy's top-secret aerotech company. Video footage of these things played on screen, and Jake kept narrating. What's he been doing with all this classified intel? He's selling it to Mitch Dillon, our local HVAC guy. Don't know what a guy like him is doing with government secrets, but hey, both he and Daryl are willing to pay me a bunch of money to keep quiet. Was Jake Rogers blackmailing everyone in Florida? Nancy asked. The video cut out for a bit, then came back on. Hey, great news, Jake said. I figured out what Mitch has been doing with the government papers. He's selling them to this loser. On screen was an image of Detective Beech. Yep, now I can blackmail him in addition to Mitch and Daryl, Jake said. Isn't life great? Better yet, he just left his notebook full of important information at Maxine's. I stole it, and I'm gonna make him pay through the nose to get it back. This tape is my insurance policy, Jake said. It's always good to have plenty of backups in the blackmail business. But I doubt this guy will give me any trouble. He's probably just gonna give me a ton of cash. The tape ended there. A few seconds later, the front door to Aunt Eloise's house slammed. Aunt Eloise? Nancy asked. She walked over to the entranceway. Standing there was Detective Beech. Chapter 23, A Criminal Caged. Hello, Nancy, Detective Beech said. I just thought I'd check up on you and see how you're doing with the case. No, 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 Nancy said, furiously flipping through her copy of Secrets Can Kill. You can't be the culprit. You're not even in this book. Say what? Detective Beech asked, jumping into a funky pose. Urgh, Nancy said, throwing her book on the floor. What, is this a remake of the game? Is that it? They remade the game and changed the criminal? Nancy, you're not making sense, Beech said. You're the culprit, Nancy said, pointing an accusing finger at Beech. That's why you're so obsessed with Jake's notebook. It's not his notebook at all. It's yours! And when he tried to blackmail you with it, you killed him! Detective Beech frowned, then pulled out a gun and pointed it right at Nancy. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, he said. If you knew everything, why didn't you go straight to the police? I did, Nancy said. Aren't you a policeman? Duh! No! Beech said in a snotty voice. I made up the entire story about being undercover, and you fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Then, you're not really my Uncle Steve? Nancy asked. She felt the urge to cry. You monster! You're going to kill me like you killed Jake. I didn't kill Jake, Beech said. That was all Mitch Dillon, my former partner. I'm no killer. You're pointing a gun at me right now, Nancy said. I'm not gonna kill you, Beech said. I'm going to lock you in a refrigerator where you'll get very cold. Don't you know secrets can chill? Nancy shuddered at his horrible and rather stupid-sounding plan. Enough messing around, though, Beech said. Where's my notebook? It's in the safe, behind the curtain, Nancy said. Beech stepped away from the doorway and went to the hidden safe. What's the combination? He shouted. Beech is a dummy, Nancy said. B-E... Hey, wait, these letters aren't even in English, Beech said. They're in... Ah! Aunt Eloise's home security system, made by the Massive Overkill Company, kicked in the instant that Beech entered the wrong password. A small jail cell fell from the ceiling and landed on top of the fake detective. Get me out of here! Beech yelled, shaking the bars and finding himself trapped. Not a chance, Nancy said. She picked up his gun, which she had dropped when the cage fell. Not until the police arrive, detective. Detective Beech growled in frustration as Nancy dialed 911. Chapter 24, The End. Dear Dad, the police managed to show up and arrest Uncle Steve. Let's not invite him to the next family reunion, okay? I met the real Detective Beech. He wasn't too happy to learn that someone had stolen his identity. The trial hasn't come up yet, but I imagine fake Beech will spend a long time in jail, just like Mitch Dillon. As for the people at the school, the Hulk decided to bench himself for 2 months until his ribs healed. He still spends all of his time staying in the corner of the gym. He claims that he's keeping himself in shape by practicing with his football, but I'm not so sure.
Daryl Gray apologized to his father for stealing classified government information,
then selling it to a murderer. As a result of his misdeeds, Daryl has been grounded until he graduates from college. As part of his punishment, he's been forbidden from going on dates with girls. In other words, nothing much has changed for him. Hal Tanaka came clean about the essay he plagiarized. He failed his class, but he still got a scholarship for medical school, so he seems pretty happy. He says he can't wait to visit his family in Japan over the summer, as long as he can avoid the crazy pink bento lady. I have no idea who he's talking about. Connie Watson became a one-woman crime fighter when she started using her judo skills to stop students from misbehaving in the halls. With her as the hall monitor, nobody will dare break the rules or set off the soda machine alarm again. Aunt Eloise is still happy with her job as a school librarian. She recently put in an order for a lot of books by some woman named Carolyn Keene. She's really excited about it, although I'm not sure why. Anyway, it seems like everything is back to normal at Paseo del Mar, so it's a job well done for me. I'm going to hitchhike back to River Heights, so this letter will probably arrive before I do. See you soon. Love, Nancy. P.S. Would it kill you to call me sometime? I'm the only person I know who contacts her father exclusively through letters. And that's it. That's the end of Nancy Drew, Secrets Can Chill. Hope you enjoyed my silly story, everybody. Bye.